tonight's guest is Gayatri, and she's going to introduce herself. Gayatri, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Gayatri Sridharan. I studied in Stella Maris College, a totally Christian college, but I am a very devout Hindu. So I'm very honored and privileged to be Anamika's guest.
Okay, thank you. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and we are going to review. This is the Bhagavad Gita. We are going to review 2 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, and the first chapter is basically the observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the second one would be the content of Gita summarized. So just whatever, feel free to interrupt, and or even you can talk about your things, whatever you have recorded or studied. So this is what I'm just going to summarize, and you can give your own comments. Pandavas, basically, who were Draupadi's husband, they were tricked by their cousin into a fixed game of dice in which they lose their wealth and kingdom. So then that is because this is the reason that the Mahabharata it's a very small reason, but this is the very reason that the Mahabharata took place. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's just not because they were tricked. There were a lot of other things involved, jealousy, anger, because the Kauravas, who waged the war against Pandavas, actually were very jealous of these 5 brothers, because they were very talented, they were good at everything that they did. So basically, the root of Mahabharata is not just the losing the game. Right from childhood, these 100 sons of Gandhari and Dhritarashtra, very jealous, and jealousy is the most potent, vicious emotion of a human being.
Okay.
It causes lots of problems in our daily lives.
Okay. So I just want to summarize. I read something, this is what I just want to give our viewers, what are the main characteristics of the first chapter, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is called the Dharma Kshetra, that's the battlefield. Then Arjuna is, we all know he's from the Pandavas, and Dhritarashtra is the father of the Kauravas, and Sanjay is the secretary of Dhritarashtra. So we'll go about that. The 2 commander-in-chief, Dronacharya was the commander-in-chief from the Kauravas side, and Bhishma was from the experienced general of Duryodhana, but Bhima was the general of Pandavas. So these are some of the main characters, and you can also see Karna, who was a half brother of Arjuna and son of Kunti, and things like that. So yeah, here he's let's go and review our first chapter that I just want to talk about this. Sanjaya, who was a student of Vyasa, and Sanjay, because Dhritarashtra was blind, so Sanjay was able to envision the battlefield of Kurukshetra even while he was in the room of Dhritarashtra, and so Dhritarashtra asked him about the situation of the battlefield. So do you think that this is possible? What is a Vyasa? Do you know why Sanjay would be able to envision while he was sitting, he was the secretary of Dhritarashtra, while he was sitting in the in his room with him, he was able to envision. What is that, a advanced science, or do you have anything?
I would say he was given the power to see the whole war, because Dhritarashtra was blind, and Sanjay was given the power to see the war of Mahabharata word to word, as you say, so that he could explain to his blind king what was happening, and that power came from Lord Krishna.
Okay.
Krishna gave him the power. Otherwise, who will give him?
Oh, I thought Krishna was only interacting with Arjuna. So he was also interacting with Sanjay.
Krishna has the cosmic
yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
So he knew that Dhritarashtra should know what his his nephews and his sons are being pushed into, because he's the man who could have stopped it.
Okay. Okay, that's good. That's good. And yeah, so and then what he says that Dhritarashtra is actually very worried. He says that sons were equally blind in the matter. His sons, like Kauravas, were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangements of Pandavas. So even though looks like that Duryodhana was confident that he will win the battle, because Dronacharya and the big teachers were on their side, but then he was also very scared that looking at the military arrangements. So was he in Duryodhana, who was the son of Dhritarashtra, was he in kind of a very dilemma that whether he'd win or not win or things like that, do you think?
See, before the war, Duryodhana and Arjuna went to Lord Krishna for asking Krishna to join the war. Now Krishna was cousins to both of them. So what happened was, when they reached Lord Krishna, he was sleeping. So Arjuna sat at Lord's feet and Duryodhana was at his head. So when Krishna woke up, he saw Arjuna first and then Duryodhana. So he said, "Why have you come here?" So they told him that we have come here to ask you for help. War has already been declared. They wanted Lord Krishna's help. So Krishna said, "I don't want to get involved, but I can give you help in one way. Both of you can ask me for anything. I have my Narayani Sena, and on the other hand, myself. You decide what you want." So Duryodhana thought he was very smart. He said, "I want your Narayani army." And Arjuna said, "I want only you." That is how Krishna did not get involved in the fighting, but he was steering Arjuna. But Duryodhana never thought. He was very confident. He was not in a dilemma.
Oh, really? Okay.
He was never in a dilemma. He, as you said, he had Dronacharya, he had all the generals, he had Lord Krishna's Narayani army. And these people had nothing. I mean, they had their armies, but they had Lord Krishna, which is what Duryodhana forgot.
Exactly. That's good thing. So moving on.
I have to say a little correction.
Yeah.
The sage Vedyasa conferred the gift of divine vision on Sanjaya and told the king, "Sanjaya will describe to you all the incidents of the war. Whatever happens in the course of the war, he will directly see, hear, or otherwise come to know. And he will be able to tell you." It is not Lord Krishna, it is Sanjaya.
Okay.
Vedyasa gave him the vision.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Okay. So yeah, again you said that actually, Duryodhana was of course confident of his victory on account of the above mentioned combined strength of his friends. Like he had Jayadatta, Kratavarma,
Karna.
Yeah.
All the great Yodhas.
Exactly.
They were all. So he was very sure he would win.
And he was confident of his victory on account of the presence of Bhishma, who was a far superior general. His conclusion that he would come out of the battle victorious was well ascertained. Right? So, there's one more thing that I want to talk about is in contrast with the conch shell blown by Bhishma Deva, the conch shells in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. So this conch shell is the shank, right?
Shank.
So what is the meaning of transcendental actually?
Transcendental is actually, when you have God on your side, it's a totally different kind of experience. They were only, blowing that thing for the war. But when you have the Lord by you, it's like you can overcome anything. So that's the feeling that when both these sides blew the conch shell, because those days, before the army starts fighting, they have to blow the Shankhnad. So that vibrations of what Krishna and Arjuna did was way beyond what these people did.
That's interesting. So, and this also says that here in the battle of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental sense of Arjuna, and thus his particular name of Rishikesha. The Lord has different names according to his different activities, but his name is Partha Sarthi because he worked as a chariot of his friend Arjuna. Similarly, his name is Rishikesh because he gave direction to Arjuna on the battle of Kurukshetra. And similarly, Bhima is known as the Vrakodara because he could eat voraciously as he could perform Herculean tasks such as killing of the demon Hidimba. So, Bhima was on the side of Pandava, right?
Bhima was their brother, third brother.
Oh yeah. Okay. He's a general of Pandava.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was known for his valor and victory. Was very powerful physically. More than mental strength. And in the army, when you fight, you need a lot of physical strength.
And also mental strength.
Yeah, mental strength, of course, all Pandavas had.
And it also says that, because Lord Krishna was on the side of Arjuna, one who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear even in the midst of greatest calamity.
Yes, always.
Yeah. And Lord Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brother, but he was forced to come into the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiations. And it is understood from the above statement that the son of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force of the Pandavas. He was confident, but he was also disheartened, that they still, even though everyone was on their side, but their military arrangements was better than any.
Naturally. They were more intelligent, no? The Pandavas.
See, and then he says that, this is very touching, like on the battlefield, Arjuna could see all kind of relatives. He could see persons like Bhuriswara, who was a father of contemporary grandfather Bhishma and Somadatta, teachers like Dronacharya and Kripacharya, maternal uncles like Salva and Shakuni, brothers like Duryodhana, sons like Lakshmana, and friends like Ashwatthama, and well-wishers like Kratavarma. He could see also the army which contained of many of his friends, and basically he was trembling with fear, because they're all friends, relative, teachers, and so thinking that the limbs of his body began to quiver and his mouth became dry. He was more or less astonished to see their fighting spirit. Practically the whole community of all blood relatives of Arjuna had come to fight with him. So and he says this crying out compassion, such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness or soft-heartedness, a characteristic of pure devotee of Lord. So basically he did not want to fight the war, right?
He did not. They were pushed into the war, no? And when they were pushed into the war, who were they fighting against? Their own kith and kin. Tomorrow, if you are faced in a situation where you have to fight against your blood relations, nobody likes to do that. No?
Do you think it's always happening, this politics inside the family?
Always, yes. Mahabharata is always happening in everybody's lives all the time. That is why this particular book of ours in our Hindu religion covers all aspects of life. All aspects.
Yeah, so actually he gives a direction, like Lord Krishna, he gives, I just want to know if it is direction. What he says that there are 6 kind of aggressors: a poison giver, one who sets fire to the house, one who attacks with deadly weapon, one who occupies another land, and one who kidnaps a wife. No sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. But you don't, like, he's telling that killing is okay, but maybe those days, but here in this generation, if you do killing, you'll be in jail.
Actually, you can't sometimes. Lot of these things in what Lord Krishna says, is not physically killing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's in your mind. See, all crimes, how are they hatched? It's always hatched in the mind. Na?
Mm-hmm.
So that is why they say that control your mind, your emotions, your anger. These three emotions are very bad: lust, greed, and jealousy.
You know, in today's world, you can see jealousy all the time. Like even in your even with friends, their families, and this jealousy just kills the spirit of other people. That's
Yes, jealousy between siblings, brother and sister, brothers may jealousy. All these things are there. It's a terrible emotion. And if you read the Bhagavad Gita, I mean, if you make it a habit of reading the Gita as often as you can, the Lord will guide you to overcome these things. And basically what it is karma. Do your karma, and leave the rest to the Almighty.
Yeah, I want to read one more thing. Like, while observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind of soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. So he actually did not want to fight. They were pushed in the war, but then Lord Krishna is telling that it is dharma. It's your dharma to fight the battle.
Yes, it is your, what should I say, even in your family life you can see that you are afflicted by so many emotions, but if you follow the path of dharma or karma, what you have to do, then I think you won't go wrong.
So basically in this whole thing is telling that because Krishna is the Godhead, and because he's with Lord Arjuna, he's giving the right direction, and even if you have to receive those directions as and what Krishna is giving, you have to become Arjuna, right? Is that something true?
See, if you are a true devotee, you automatically become Arjuna. Okay. Because when you surrender yourself to Bhagavan, Lord Krishna, and you leave everything to him and say that now you guide me, where does the guidance come from? From here. This is your Atma. Rightly as your channel is
Dhi Atman Show.
Yes. So this is Lord Krishna inside you, your consciousness, your conscience. If you listen to your conscience will never go wrong. It will always take you in the right way.
Okay.
It takes time, but you have to, what should I say? You have to listen to your conscience. Listen to yourself. Atman, what is Atman? Atman is yourself, Tattvamasi. You are a God yourself. The Godhead is within you. So if you listen to yourself, you will never go wrong. That is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita and Lord Krishna.
So here, okay, I'll just quickly go here. What he says that Krishna is the original supreme personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, the source of both super soul and the impersonal Brahman. So in the presence of supreme personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsmen. Lamentation for his kinsmen means he is just lamenting for his brothers and teachers and everything, is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed his surprise with word kutas, wherefrom such unmanly sentiments were never expected from person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable to person who know the value of life and have civilization based on spiritual realization. Person who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. So basically he's trying to tell that the lamentation that you're having, with your kinsmen, like your teachers, your families, that is a material bondage.
Yes, it is. It is. So that is why he says, no, let go. Once you leave that bondage, you can overcome that bondage, then you can see clearly what you have to do. Like we as women, we are so attached to our children, we don't want to let them go. We are attached to our family, we don't want to let them go. But we have to let them go. Why? Because they have to also have their lives, So that clinging, you should not cling. That is attachment. As much as you can, try and reduce your attachment. Then you will realize that consciousness, the super consciousness of God. But as human beings, laymen like you and me, it's very difficult.
That is why we are in the normal world and we are not as sannyasis.
Yes,
yeah, but it's good to know.
Yes.
Okay. According to scriptural codes, a teacher who engages in abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. Bhishma and Drona were obliged to take the side of Duryodhana because of his financial assistance. I was like, so Drona Acharya and Bhishma, who was a general, basically experienced general of Duryodhana, they actually were taking side of Duryodhana because he was assisting them financially. So Lord Krishna is telling to let them go because anyways they are there because of money.
They were obliged to Duryodhana. They were. So, you see, they lost their path of dharma. They knew that Duryodhana was wrong. Bhishma knew Duryodhana was wrong. Drona knew Duryodhana was wrong. They were doing wrong. They were denying Pandavas their right. But like you said, they were obliged to Duryodhana for whatever reason, financial or whatever.
So again, there is lamentation is not stopping. What he is saying that Arjuna, even if victory awaited them, still if the sons of Dhritarashtra died in the battle, it would be very difficult to live in their absence. His desire to live by begging, although he was born on royal household, is another sign of detachment. What he's saying is that basically, like, even if I win the war, but I have to live without them. So he's actually worried about that,
Yeah, so what? He is too attached to them. Because he was actually a good person, He loved his cousins, though they did all the wrong things to them. But still, he had that bondage with them, That is the key word, bondage.
Yeah. Basically, it's saying that although Arjuna was for the time being overwhelmed with false grief due to family affection, basically, right? Yeah. So what here, there's one more thing that I want to tell. Soul and the supreme is even more important than the religious formularies, and because he was lacking in that knowledge, he should not have posed himself as a very learned man, as he did not happen to be a very learned man. He was consequently lamenting for something which was unworthy of lamentation. The body is born and is destined to vanquished today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body is not important as the soul. And one who knows this actually learned, and for him there is no cause of lamentation regardless of the condition of the material or body. Basically, what is telling Lord Krishna is like, even if you kill the body, but the soul will always be alive, right?
Yes, because in Hinduism we believe in reincarnation and karma. So when you do when you do a deed, good or bad, it affects your soul. If you kill somebody I won't say that one should kill, but what happens is it's the soul which continues. Body will perish. Like we believe in rebirth. Our religion, we believe in rebirth. And that is what Lord Krishna says, that if you do your karma, go in the right direction, no matter what, you may get killed, you may kill somebody, but if your karma is right, then you will, only your body will perish, your soul will remain intact.
Since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body every moment, manifesting sometimes as child, sometimes as youth, and sometimes as an old man. Yet the same spirit soul is there and does not undergo any change. This individual soul finally changes the body at death and transmigrates to another body, and since it is sure to have another body in the next birth, either material or spiritual, there was no cause of lamentation by Arjuna on the account of that, neither for Bhishma nor for Drona, for whom he was so much concerned. Rather, he should rejoice for their changing body from old to new, thereby rejuvenating their energies. You think, like in this, in one life, if we are having our energies are negative, and if we change bodies, our energies can become positive. Is it possible?
It all depends on your karma.
Okay.
It all depends on your karma. That's why in our Hindu religion, why do they say do good? Actually, all religions say the same thing. But in our religion, we believe in rebirth. So if you do a good, you carry your karma like a, what should I say?
Shadow?
No, a bonus.
Okay.
Your good karmas are your bonuses for your next life. That's why when we are right from our childhood, you'll remember your mother telling you to be a good girl, do good things, isn't it? So it's your karmas are actually your bonuses for your next life.
Okay. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to tolerate non-permanent appearance and disappearance of happiness and distress. Okay, this is a very important thing. Like, even if we are, like, say, supposing for something, sometimes we get something, we get a promotion, we get happy, and then something happens, like a car breaks down, so we get sad. So you think that we should be always like not get too happy or too because everything in life is permanent and not permanent.
Nothing is permanent.
Yeah.
In life nothing is permanent. No, neither your relationships with your parents, with your children, with your friends, nothing is permanent. Life is constantly changing in some way or the other. Like just now you said, in 1 minute you're so happy because you got promoted. Next minute you'll feel sad because something bad has happened. So what we have to understand is that we have to go to the middle path.
Okay.
Always follow the middle path. Don't be too happy because you don't know when it's going to change. And don't be too sad also because nothing, remains the same. If you're going through a bad period, I always can say that the good times are going to come. And vice versa. It always happens. I mean, in my life I can see that, over good things have happened, bad things have happened, and always what takes you across is, I feel personally, is your good karmas to overcome the bad times. Because if you are a good person, and you have done good karmas, from nowhere people come to help you, out of the blue. And those are all,
like, I got you, like, for this channel, this is my first episode though. You are like a very auspicious person for me. Okay, the thing is, another thing they say that 2 different names of address given to Arjuna are also significant. To address him as Kaunteya signifies his great blood. Kaunteya, okay. Signifies his great blood relation from his mother's side, and to address him as Bharata signifies the greatness from his father's side. So he's great from the mother and father's side.
They come from a very good, I think from mother's side he was related to Lord Krishna.
Oh.
Yeah.
And to have a great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of duties, therefore he cannot avoid fight, because he comes with a great heritage.
Yes.
He cannot avoid
Yes.
fighting. He
Yes.
cannot lament.
Yeah.
He has to think all these
Yes. Yes. And that is why Lord Krishna was also the avatar of Rama. In his previous avatar as Ram, Lord Ram was the king of Ayodhya, if you know, and what all he went through. But he always followed the right path. You see? So Krishna, the next avatar, is also trying to show you that if you're on the right path, whether good or bad is happening to you, you are in my hands, in Bhagwan's hands.
So another thing I wanted to know, okay, we'll talk about Gita, but this is my thinking, right? Do you think that Krishna is a god? He's a god. I know I don't want to controversy, but the thing is whether you think those days, like these all episodes maybe happened 5,000, 10,000 years ago. Do you think they came from another planet and they were superhumans and they had superpowers to guide us or something like that?
I wouldn't say another planet, but in Hinduism we say there is a world called Brahmand. What is Brahmand?
Universe.
Universe is not just the earth. The whole cosmic, Brahmand is the whole cosmic energy. And what is Lord Krishna? He's part of that cosmic energy. And in every yug, they say, this cosmic energy manifests itself as an avatar to guide the human beings. So they take birth as humans, because finally Lord Krishna, when the time came, I won't say he died, but he just disappeared. Do you know how there was in Dwaraka, they now have discovered the ruins of Dwaraka.
Yeah.
Actually, a tsunami hit and the whole Dwaraka city went underground. Krishna knew it was coming, it was the end. So when he knew that Dwaraka, the end of Dwaraka is coming, he knew how he was going to, give up his mortal human form. So he went onto a tree and he was lying down there on the tree, and a hunter saw something moving. Actually, Lord Krishna's leg was shaking, and the hunter thought it was a bird and shot the arrow on his ankle.
Okay.
And Krishna just disappeared.
Okay, so moving on to another paragraph, I want to say, anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaught of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. In the Varnaswarma institution, the fourth stage of life, namely renounced order sannyasa, is a painstaking situation. But one who is serious about making his life perfectly surely adopts the sannyasa order of life in spite of all difficulties. The difficulties usually arises from having severe family relationships to give up the connection of wife and child. But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritual realization is complete. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duties as Kshatriya, he is advised to persevere even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similar beloved person. Basically, another thing is if you are ready for sannyasa and all that, this is what I think, correct me if I'm wrong. See, you keep on taking rebirth. You there's a reincarnation theory in this, right? You keep on taking rebirth until you have done you have a perfect life, right? Then you get merged into a cosmic energy.
Yes.
Right? Any thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you. So every life that we get, we have to persevere to what is that word called, to reach nirvana. It's not easy. It is not easy. For you and me, we have to take many births to attain that.
You know, and anything, you think that we'd always take birth as a human, or we can even become animals?
No. Once you take a human birth, you don't go back.
Even if you have done very bad deeds, like Hitler, he did very bad deeds. So you think he can again become human? His karma was very bad, right?
Very bad. But I don't, personally, I don't think he will be born as a cockroach I mean, being a cockroach is too simple, but
some punishment will be there, right?
Definitely, he will be born into a very, what should I say, he will undergo all those sufferings as a human being. You know, he has to suffer. What suffering you give somebody, you will have to suffer. And most often you suffer many things, like you see some very good people, much suffering they go through.
No, I think I'm a good person, but I'm suffering.
Yeah, it's because of your previous karma, previous karma.
Then I have to be very good karma in this life.
Yeah, you have to strive, because I have seen even in my families such good people going through terrible illnesses, painful, but they say that when you go through that, you are actually shedding your bad karmas.
Really?
Yes, like
you know, I feel like sometime or the other, right, you know, even in personal life, professional life, I go through lot of struggle, like, you know, especially backstabbing, jealousy, politics, talking bad things. I mean, how much I keep a very smiling face.
Yeah, so you're doing good karma, no? So those people are doing backstabbing, jealousy, in their kitty, the bad karma is just piling up. You know, and your bad karmas are coming down.
Okay, let's move on. There is no endurance of the changing body. That body is changing every moment by the action and reaction of the different cells, is admitted by modern medical science, and thus growth and old age are taking place in the body, but the spiritual soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all change of the body and mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. So, no, see, one thing, okay, I understand, like, in this lifetime, you know, we'll be young, we'll be old and things like that, but the soul remains the same. But see, if we do good things, do you think our soul is also evolving?
Yes, that is what is evolving. It's not our bodies. We grow old, we get wrinkles, everything, but the soul remains permanent.
Okay.
That is the Atman. That remains permanent. And that is what is going to carry you into your next life.
Alright, so another thing, this is another dimension I want to get to the conversation. It says the Hatha Yoga system is meant for controlling the 5 kinds of air encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting posture, not for any material profit but for liberation of minute soul from entanglement of material atmosphere. So you think that when we do yoga, or maybe there are different types of yoga, different levels of yoga, when we do that, you think that we are going to become more pure, or more our soul will evolve, or we are going to have a material detachment or something like that?
Depends on why are you doing yoga. Most people today do yoga for having perfect bodies, good health. Yes, that is good. But when you control your breath, when you meditate, you are able to connect with your soul. You are supposed to go deeper into your soul. You know, that is the meaning.
So we are not connected with our soul. That is why when we connect with the soul, then we think in a better way.
Yes.
Yeah.
You feel more calm. That is why they say meditate. You know, when you meditate, our mind is like a monkey. It will jump from here, there. But if you can control your mind when you're meditating, that itself takes care of a lot of your problems, because you can keep calm in situations. In bad situations, you just keep calm.
Okay, maybe we are coming pretty close. Okay, the material body is perishable by nature. It may perish immediately, or it may do so after 100 years. It is a question of time only. There is no chance of maintaining it indefinitely, but the spirit soul is so minute that it cannot even be seen by an enemy to say nothing of being killed, as mentioned in the previous verse. It is so small that no one can have any idea how to measure its dimension. So from both points of view, there is no cause of lamentation, because the living entity can neither be killed as he is, nor can the material body, which cannot be saved for the length of time, be permanently protected. So basically they're saying this is, the soul is so small but yet so powerful, and it cannot be, even if the body is killed, you cannot kill the soul.
No, you cannot. That is why in Hinduism we have all these rituals after a person dies. No?
Okay, what is that?
That is to help the soul.
Hmm.
You see, in today's world, even amongst Hindus, I have seen, people don't, if somebody dies, kiya tervi kiya, khatam ho gaya. It's not like that, Why do we do pindadan? Why do we immerse ashes in the river? That is basically, you are helping that soul of the person who has died to transmigrate peacefully into another
Body.
Maybe not immediately.
Then okay, what happens like if the soul dies, right, and it is supposed to go to a target destination, some based on your karma, like then in between, where is the soul?
They say there is some plane which is we cannot imagine what it is, because as you and I are sitting here, I'm sure there are souls all around us, trying to find a place to be reborn again.
But you will, it looks like I read somewhere, I don't remember, but it's very scientific. Based on your karma, you will be just directed where you have to go.
Yes, and generally what happens, most often you're born into the same set of people.
Really?
Yes.
Then you have to maintain good relationship.
No, it's strange, but sometimes when you meet somebody, you feel ki, I know this person, is a total stranger, but I know this person because maybe in your previous life there was some connection somewhere, and not necessarily if you were somebody's wife in the next life, you will be that same person's wife. You can be born as the father or the child or whatever, but they generally say that
are you not like crossing the boundaries? Like today, if you're a husband wife, tomorrow you will be a mother. That is not. Don't you think that's like crossing the boundaries?
No. This is something which we don't know. It's a unknown. But people do believe that, because father and mother is because of the body. Hannah, there is no body for the soul. The soul can be born as anything. Soul can. Your soul now, you're Anamika's soul. But once the person Anamika is no more, the soul is not Anamika anymore. The moment a person dies, that soul, you give up. Your identity is gone. That is why when somebody dies, they never say the person, they always say the body. The body is gone. Soul is something different. There is no connection after death between the body and the soul.
There's no connection.
No.
Really?
Soul takes...
because body is like soil, right?
Yeah. Ashes.
Ashes.
And they say that it takes 40 days for the soul to transmigrate into the other world. So, at least in Kerala, we follow a lot of rituals for 40 days. After a person dies, we follow a lot of rituals for 40 days.
Okay, looks like we have a little bit
covered.
One thing I want to cover, maybe this is the last thing. The soul is full of knowledge, or full always with conscious. Therefore, conscious is the symptom of the soul. Even if one does not find the soul within the heart where he is situated, one can still understand the presence of soul simply by presence of consciousness. Sometimes we do not find the sun in the sky owing to clouds or for some other reason, but the light of the sun is always there, and we are convinced that it is therefore the daytime. So, yeah. Then one more thing he says that it is supported that a murderer should be condemned to death so that in his next lifetime he will not have to suffer to the great sin he has committed. Similarly, when Krishna orders fighting, it must be concluded that violence is for supreme justice, and as such, Arjun should follow the instruction, knowing well that such violence committed in the act of fighting for Krishna is not violence at all. At any rate, the man, or rather than the soul, cannot be killed. So the administration of justice to call violence is permitted. So he's telling this violence of killing is okay, is permitted, is for justice to establish dharma.
Yes.
Because anyway the soul is not getting killed.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I agree.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gayatri. It was a good
Thank you.
session. First
Yes.
2 chapters. We'll again meet again.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
Thanks for joining. Bye.
Thank you.